Hi everyone, it's John here from Ohazassu, Japan, and welcome to episode number 88. And as you can see, it's a beautiful day here today at Tsuruma Park in Nagoya City, and we've got some beautiful sunlight out. It's nice and it's not cold and it's not too hot. It's warm. It's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, welcome to the show. For those of you who are new, I'm John. I live in Nagoya, Japan. I'm originally from Sydney, Australia, and I've been here for over 12 years now. And on the Ohazassu Japan channel, we talk about life in Japan, language, work issues, all kinds of stuff that just happens living here in Japan as an expat. And I also occasionally go to visit shops in Japan and show people around and look into what's out there. So anyway, welcome to the show. And as a lot of you, the regulars, will know, there is something called Word of the Day at the end of each episode. So make sure you hang around for that one. In each episode, I introduce a new Japanese word based on something we've spoken about during the video. Anyway, let's jump right into it. So in today's quick episode, we're going to just quickly go over a Japanese language learning poll, which I put out on my X account the other day. And I had 97 replies or respondents to that poll. Thank you very much to everyone who participated and shared the poll so we could sort of reach more people. I think we reached a couple of thousand people, I think, saw that. And we had 97 votes in total. 72% said that Japanese language learning was hard, and the remaining 28% said not hard. I made this a very, very simple question. I didn't want people to think about it too much. It was purely supposed to be based on your first impressions of Japanese language learning. And I find that, this is true. 72%, it's a majority, large majority, agree that, it's a hard language to learn. There are exceptions. As a couple of people commented, there are languages with similar grammar. I think someone mentioned that Slavic languages were, similar grammatically. So apparently that made it easier for them to pick up Japanese. And there are also, obviously, people who learn kanji from a young age have a huge advantage, especially when it comes to reading and writing. So let's say, for example, if you're from China and you learn, a couple of thousand kanji during your 12-year education in school, you'll have a massive advantage because that'll help you to memorize words and also to read and comprehend large bodies of text, which is what something like the JLPT test has. A lot of that is, there's a lot of sections in that where you have to read a large section of text in a very short amount of time. So for someone who wasn't brought up with kanji throughout their school life, it can be extremely challenging to quickly process all of that information and to answer a lot of the detailed questions. That leads me to something else. I do want to cover these topics in future videos, probably in dedicated videos about Japanese language learning and how the JLPT fits in. For those of you who don't know, JLPT is the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, and it's been around forever. And it used to come in only 4 levels, and now I believe it's available in 5 levels, ranging from N5, which is the lowest level, all the way up to N1, which is the highest level. A lot of people mistakenly refer to N1 level as native level Japanese, and let me tell you, as someone I have both N2 and N1, and as I mentioned at the start of the episode, I've been here for 12, almost 13 years now, and I can confidently tell you that N1 level is nothing close to native level Japanese. You'll obviously have a very high level of Japanese compared to a beginner, but it's by no means native level. Anyway, in a couple of future videos, I do want to address the topic of JLPT and how it fits into life in Japan and how it can serve, in your advantage in work or in your academic life and so on. But that's a topic for another video. But one of the reasons, the reason why I wanted to conduct this poll, and I'll probably be doing a couple of more, so keep an eye out if you're on my X feed. You might see a couple more pop up. I do want to know what kind of difficulties people have with Japanese language learning in particular. The people who replied that it was difficult, I asked respondents to also, if possible, to provide a reason or to provide details on what was hard. So that's very, very valuable information for me as I go ahead and try to make some videos or content to help people out with this kind of stuff. And obviously a lot of people mention that vocabulary and just trying to, figure out the different kanji, and there's a lot of very similar words in Japanese as well that sound the same but have different meanings or just have a very small difference between them. If you know a little bit about Japanese, the language, you'll know that there's a very limited range of phonemes. Is that the correct term for them? Yeah, I guess they are, but syllables and building blocks that make up the sounds of language. So in English, we've got a wide range of, even though we only have 26 letters, we can have a wider range of pronunciation. For example, a word like ham, like a ham, cheese, tomato sandwich, the "a" that's in that word ham, which we as English speakers think is a very simple word to pronounce. It's only 3 letters and you can almost not go wrong. But for a person who only speaks Japanese, that "a" sound doesn't exist in the language. So they end up saying hamu, hamu. So that "a" sound, there's a lot of sounds like that don't exist in Japanese. But so because of that, the range of sounds is so limited that you end up with a lot of words that sound very similar or have, they're extremely close. But anyway, that's part of the difficulty of one of the difficulties that was brought up in Japanese. And so it's something that, we want to have a look at and talk about and see how it goes. And I think it's going to be interesting to cover those kinds of things and to see how people can overcome these difficulties and see, if we can come up with some strategies or some ways or through sharing each other's learning methods and tips and advice that we all have, because I think everyone has their own kind of strategy. And even if you haven't really thought about it, I want to ask you to actually think about that for a while. And if you can, share it with me down in the comments. I'd love to know what your strategy was or what you found worked or what didn't work. And this is a massive topic, and I don't know how I'm going to cover this, like in how many videos or how I'm going to structure it, but I think there's a lot of topics that can be discussed within this topic. And something else that came up with a friend of mine the other day, we were talking about how the convenience of recent learning or study methods, such as AI or being able to just hover over something, a bit of text and seeing the meaning pop up, even though it's extremely attractive for students to use these methods, we were wondering, like, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It makes you feel like it's more efficient, but at the same time, when something's too easy, it doesn't seem to stick the retention doesn't seem to be as good. So it's interesting. So you really need to find, and I don't know, it's a really hard topic, and I do want to discuss it because it's really strange because you can't really avoid it now. See, when I was studying Japanese, that method wasn't available, so we had to look everything up. Even though we had electronic dictionaries, we still had to spend time and make an effort to look things up. And it took us a bit of time and effort. And the longer it takes for you, so say it takes 1 or 2 minutes to find a word in a dictionary, you're more likely to, because you don't want to do that again, right? There's something in the brain that's like, I don't want to have to go through that again, so I'm going to make more of an effort to remember that. But if your brain is kind of used to, like, if I just hover over it, it's going to pop up, then there's not really any reason. And I'm sure there are psychologists out there or people who specialize in this field, and I'm positive that there are names for these phenomena. And I'm actually reading, I mentioned, I think in the last episode, that I'm reading a book called The 12 Bad Habits of the Brain in Japanese, and themes like this actually come up, and they are actually reasons why we get lazy and reasons why we lose motivation or why we get motivated. It's all based on what's easier for the brain to do, and also things like protecting your own sort of way of thought, and there's like a consistency bias, I think it would translate to in English. So there's all these different things that affect how much you can retain. So it's a really interesting topic for me, and I think for a lot of people out there who are studying language in general, but especially for us people learning Japanese, because there's a lot of tools out there these days, and they make it really, really easy. But it's going to be challenging going forward for a lot of recent language learners who are sort of, they're overwhelmed with all these different choices for language learning tools. There's apps, there's all these different platforms. And one thing I've noticed is that a lot of people actually mention that even though I've been doing blah, blah app for a year or two, I'm not improving. So I'd love to know, maybe that's another poll that I'll put out. If you've been using something, has it been effective for you? And if so, how effective has it been? And there's a lot of interesting things that, we can go into, but there's definitely, for me, in my personal experience, immersion was probably the biggest one. But looking back, and I've analysed this myself many, many times, it's probably the biggest thing was that I spent a little bit of time on the foundations. So a bit of grammar, a bit of, rote learning on the vocab and stuff like that. So input's obviously one point. And if you know anything about language learning, I'm sure there's a lot of English teachers out there who watch this program. You'll know that output is probably even more important than input, but you can't have one without the other, right? So it's very, very important that you output. Without output, you're simply memorizing and you're never going to be able to, practice anything that you've learned, and you're not going to become fluent or anything like that. So that's a huge problem. Anyway, you can probably tell from how much I'm talking, and this is something that's totally unscripted. It's all just coming from inside. So I've got all this stuff in my mind that needs to come out or wants to come out. I really want to talk about it, but I do want to sit down one day and actually structure it. Otherwise, I could just literally go on for 2-3 hours about this topic. Maybe I'll do that on a podcast, an audio-only podcast one day. But anyway, so that's that topic. Next up, I just want to quickly go over the theme of friends. And on the theme of friends, it's something that's come up in previous episodes. I've spoken about isolation, the feelings of isolation here in Japan, and loneliness that I think a lot of us foreigners end up having to deal with while we're here because, we're away from friends and family back home, and the friends that we do make over here in Japan, a lot of them end up going back or traveling, moving on to other places in Japan. Not many people end up becoming very long-term friends here in Japan. It's a very dynamic kind of a situation. It's always changing and it's always moving. You could say the same about anywhere in the world or anywhere in life. And sorry, there's a lot going on here. I'm hoping that the audio is coming through okay. And that's one of the things I actually like about this DJI microphone is that I can place it quite close to my mouth like this, and even though there's a car behind us, behind the camera there's a little K truck, it just turned its engine on, and in the other direction over there's someone speaking on the loudspeaker. There's safety announcements these days at the park telling people not to ride their bikes or walk while operating their phones. I wonder if I should let it finish. You want to listen to it? Maybe not. Anyway, hopefully it's not too bad. So where was I? Yes. So with friends and isolation and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a difficult topic, and it's something I've been trying to deal with, for a while now. Because it goes up and down. Like, I'll occasionally get really down about it, and then sometimes I'll be like, just live in the present, and the usual stuff, gomakasu is just to, like, you pretend or you trick yourself into becoming happy again and forgetting about it, and and that's one thing that got me really down about last week. I was really down for about a week or two, up till about the weekend, and actually, a couple of weeks ago, I got really excited as well because I was able to catch up with another friend. I put up a video the other day where I went to a place called Katsushika, and when I was there, I caught up with a really, really good friend of mine, and that was about, time flies, doesn't it? It was about a couple of weeks ago. So I get really happy when I catch up with friends. So it's not like this permanent state of depression that I'm in. It's more like there is a reason to why I'm depressed. It's not just for no reason. It's not like a chemical thing in my brain, because I have experienced stuff like that. I have gone through anxiety and stuff, so I know how that can feel, and it's not that. It's different to just waking up and being, down or anxious for no reason. I have my reasons, and they make sense to me. And the reasons are that I feel like I don't have enough regular contact with people, with friends, with close people. And one of the reasons for that is actually my geographical isolation. A lot of the people who are close that I would love to regularly be in touch with or see face to face are in either Australia or not in Nagoya. So it's really challenging for me. But I need to stay in Nagoya because I work here, and I guess theoretically I could move even with my work, but I've got family here. And I've also, I need to be here for now, for at least another few years, just personal reasons with family and stuff like that. So it's not something, that's not an option. I can't just say I'm going to move to Tokyo or I'm going to move to Osaka or whatever. So that's a challenge for me, and it's a reality that I have to deal with. And, I get through that most of the time, but the last couple of weeks, it really hit me. It was like, you know what? You can gomakasu all you like. You can try to pretend that everything's fine. Sometimes I'll go for a bike ride and, things are okay for the day. And then later on, I'll realize again that, that didn't actually change anything. So it gets challenging sometimes. But, the other day, I was very fortunate. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I was able to catch up with a good friend in Tokyo. On top of that, on just the last weekend that we had, another really good friend this time came from Australia over here to Japan, and we caught up in Tokyo, and I was able to introduce my daughter to his daughters and his family, and it was a fantastic weekend, and we had a great time together, and we caught up. We hadn't seen each other for over 6 years. Pre-COVID was the last time that we saw each other, and it really made me realize how powerful friendships are, because I was so depressed. Like I said, the last couple of weeks I've been really down about this because I just know that it's a reality and I can't just easily talk myself out of it, and I was really, really down. And I met my friend, and within minutes I was like, completely different. I was positive and happy, and it's amazing how powerful friendships can be. And so it just made me realize, like, hey, you really got to, at least what the problem is. So I think I'm going to focus more on fixing that problem. Like maybe I just, need to make more of an effort to meet my friends or to meet people. And I need to go out of my way a bit more, because I'm getting, I think being here in my current situation, I've become too comfortable and things are a bit too convenient. So it becomes difficult. Once you get, you settle into this groove, even though it's not great for you, sometimes it can be so comfortable that it's difficult to get out of it. And I think that's where I am. I think that's what's happened to me. And I just need to keep reminding myself that you're free. Like you can, if you want to go, obviously it costs money, and that's not something that I'm, happy about, because it's not easy to travel to Tokyo or to Osaka or whatever all the time on a regular basis. But maybe it's something that just, it's a cost that I need to accept and factor in, because it's something that I think is necessary. It's a need. And it's not something that maybe one of the reasons why my mind wasn't flexible enough to factor that in until now is because back when I was in Australia, I had never considered travelling out of the city, out of Sydney, on a regular basis. There was no need. So maybe it was just not there as an option in my mind until now. And now I'm realizing, hey, wait a second. Like the other day, you guys who follow me know that I go here and there. I went to Osaka just on a day trip, to Kyoto on a day trip. Literally, it takes 30 minutes to get to Kyoto from Nagoya on a bullet train. Tokyo is like 1.5 hours. So in Australia, that wouldn't be easy to do. You'd have to get to the airport because we don't have bullet trains that connect, Sydney to Melbourne to Brisbane or whatever. So, that's something in Japan that I've sort of got to realise that, hey, you can just go. Like, you might as well just go. And I'm going to start doing that, actually. So you can probably expect to see more travel videos or videos of different places as we go forward with Ohazassu Japan. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's actually made me kind of happy. You can probably tell I'm smiling already just thinking about it. But it's something that, I've got to keep working at it, and I've got to definitely make more of an effort to fix this problem that I have. It must have been Friend Month or something. When was it? Yes, not yesterday. Day before yesterday. Another friend was visiting from overseas, and I caught up with him and another friend, and we went drinking and we talked about all our issues and stuff. And even though he lives overseas, he's actually facing very similar issues in sort of slightly different context, but very, very similar issues. So I realised, even when we feel very alone and very like the thing with depression and feeling down is that you feel like it's just you and there's no one else, and it feels like no one is going through what you're going through, and that your situation is somehow unique, or that no one could ever understand. And that makes you feel even more down. It really pulls you down like a heavy weight. And once you realise, you talk to some people, and I realised that, geez, man, it's like we've all got something. We're all dealing with something, right, in life. And I really thought the strongest feeling that's coming out now in this recording, in this episode, I'm really feeling it, is that there's a real need for me to be more flexible in the way that I process things. Until now, it was sort of like, okay, trying to figure something out with just existing solutions or existing methods. And obviously, if no methods are available in there, and if none of them work, and if you keep on trying to apply those, it's obvious that they're never going to work, right? So it's kind of silly, isn't it? It's frustrating. It becomes very frustrating. So it made me really realize that flexibility is key. If something is not working for you, you've really got to sort of sit down for a couple of days maybe, or it might take months, it might take weeks. You've really got to sit down and you've got to process this, and you've got to write things down and think outside the box. So maybe write down things that you have tried and then go, okay, well, they don't work, so let's try something else, and think really outside the box. Like for me, the outside the box thing was, like I was telling myself all the time that, you can't go to Tokyo or you can't go to Osaka on a regular basis because it's too difficult, it's too far, it's too expensive. But I'm like, okay, let's put all of that aside, all of the barriers, the restrictions, and just write it down out the box. Go to Osaka on a regular basis, go to Tokyo on a regular basis. Okay, it might cost more, but let's think about that later. We've got to think about ways to either save that amount of money on a monthly basis so we can allocate it to that, or find a way to make more money to allocate it to that. And then you can move on to that and try working on that. And if you can't do that, because I realize it might be unrealistic for me to go on a regular basis, but I have to first try. And then if I can't do it, then I can start thinking about how to work with that, right? So I've really started becoming more like bird's eye view, like looking from above, and becoming more objective. I was very subjective before, and I was just thinking about, I can't do it, from my ground level perspective. And I think it really helps if you can go up a bit and look down on yourself and see the surroundings. I think it really helped me to do that. But it took me a while to come to this conclusion, or to come to this. And it's a process. And I think the process itself is part of the solution. You've got to go through the challenges and the difficulties, and you've got to come up with this might work for you. What I'm telling you now might work for you if you apply it. I hope it does, if you can apply it and if it helps. If not, I recommend that you just stick with it and keep on trying to find a solution and not give up on that. Anyway, I've been babbling on for too long. I promised myself that I would not be scripting or, I've never actually scripted, but I've always had like a list of topics that I wanted to cover in Ohazassu, and this time I'm going for a more unstructured and just free talking kind of thing. So I hope this has been okay, and I'm just going to try to be more casual with the camera, and I'd love to hear your feedback. I want to know if this kind of talk is good or not. Is it too much? Is it too little? Do you want me to talk for longer? Because I can talk forever, especially if I've had some coffee. I've got this today. This is a new one. It's not really my kind of thing, but it's something that's not sweet. It's a amakunai latte, and with no sugar. It's not even bito. Bito is something that has low sugar. This is no sugar. So it's actually not sweet at all, and it actually doesn't taste too bad. It's not strong enough for me. But it's not too bad at all. Anyway, I've only had about half of this and it's got me going on the caffeine thing. But but let me know how this is. I do want to just have more frank discussions with my viewers and share insights. I think there's a lot of unique things that us expats go through in Japan, and I think talking about it is really, really important. A really nice phrase that a friend of mine introduced to me in the past, months ago, maybe a year ago or so, was hanasu koto wa hanasu koto. And I mentioned that in one of the previous episodes. I can't remember which one. It was probably about a few months ago. But it's a fantastic little saying in Japanese, and the word hanasu, it's a verb, and it can mean two things. As I was saying before, with the limited sounds in Japanese, you end up with a lot of these cases actually where you have the same word with different meanings and different kanji. So hanasu is one of them. It can mean to speak or to talk, and it can also mean to let go. And isn't that such a powerful thing? Hanasu koto wa hanasu koto is basically speaking or talking about something is like letting it go. And it's so true, isn't it? When we talk about something, it's just, we let go of it, or it becomes lighter. It's like a lighter load. Or it's like a load has been lifted off our shoulders when we talk about something with someone. So it really is important to do that, I feel. So I do want to talk about stuff. There's a lot of issues, I think, that affect us, and I do want to go through and process my own journey, and by doing that I hope that it helps other people who are going through similar things. Like I said, talking to my friends the other day, it made me realize that I'm not alone. I'm not the only person who goes through issues with isolation or with not being able to meet people as often as we want to, and that kind of thing. So I think this is going to be good for me. And I'm hoping that it's also going to be good for you guys as well. And if there's any topics, by the way, that you want me to cover, like simple examples that I've thought about is like losing a parent while you're overseas. You know, I lost my mother. It's been around 8 years or 9 years now. And that's something that was really difficult to process, and occasionally it still comes up. So there are topics like that are unique to us as expats in Japan, and I really do want to cover them. Anyway, I'm babbling on, and I do want to get to the end of the episode, and as I mentioned at the start of the video, there is always a word of the day, and today's word of the day is connected to the theme of friendship. And in the theme of friendship, there is a word called kizuna, and kizuna means bond, as in the bonds of friendship. It's Kizuna, and I'll put that up on the screen. And I also always list my word of the day words on X as well, with a little graphic card that shows the kanji and the meaning and a little explanation. And you can also bring up all of those words by clicking on the hashtag that'll be in there as well. I'll put it up on the screen too. It's hashtag Ohazassu WOTD. WOTD stands for word of the day. And what else did I want to say? Oh yeah, the website. I mentioned I'm working on the website on the last episode, and that's coming together really well. I've only got about 35 episodes to go. There's a big backlog. As you know, this is 88, so I've been busy uploading all of my previous episodes, the pages and the word of the day words, and they're all categorized. So once that's ready, you'll really be able to access everything very, very easily. You'll be able to click on one little button on the menu, and it'll bring up all of the word of the day words in a complete list, and you'll be able to check them anytime you want to. Yeah. Anyway, phew, that was a busy episode. I don't think I've spoken that fast or that long in a while. Thank you, Fire One Day. It was a really nice coffee. I think it did the trick. Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in, and I hope to see you at the next video or episode or wherever we happen to meet. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Bye for now.